intel reports that Halsey's looking at it. Halsey's looking at it, and they're going, these Japanese that we thought we defeated earlier, they're not in all of them. They're coming back.
Today we're talking about snipers. This video is brought to you by Kristen, who wants to give a shout out to all Navy corpsmen, past, future, and present. Hollywood does a terrible job of portraying this job. It is way less romantic and way more hardcore than most of the movies. Hollywood has a terrible way of making it seem like being a sniper is just a natural talent. There's nothing natural about being able to give somebody a long-range lobotomy from a mile and a half away while you're dressed like a bush. This is a lot more hard work and developed skill than it is natural talent. First of all, Hollywood makes a spotter here, the guy with the telescope, seem like he's a sniper's cat. He's not. He is also a sniper. You see, snipers function in pairs and they switch off on rolls to avoid IFP. Hollywood also makes it seem like they just put the crosshairs on the bad guy and pull the trigger. That is not what happens. Before anybody ever pulls the trigger, they're doing calculations on every force of nature that impact the flight of the bullet. And I mean everything. When the distance to the thoracic cavity they're trying to ventilate, gravity, humidity, the Coriolis effect, which is the effect the rotation of the Earth has on the bullet in flight. What I'm trying to tell you is these guys know they're going to hit the target before they even pull the trigger. Because fucking science. Because you see, snipers are made up of the most dangerous thing in the universe. Grunts that know how to do math. Now, I talk a lot about grunts. These grunts have a special place in my heart. These grunts are willing to crawl half a mile an hour for 3 days to get to a target just because Uncle Sam wants to make the shit personal. I mean, think about it. The sniper can see you. Uncle Sam has other ways he can make you go away forever. He can just call up the Air Force and put warheads on foreheads and be done with it. But nah. He's gonna let Bill Nye the Science Grunt take you out with a single bullet. I mean, the most commonly used sniper round is 7.62 by 51 millimeters, or as they call it on the moon, 308. That's like 68 cents a round. I'm trying to tell you Uncle Sam's about to unalive you off the dollar menu. Yeah, science grunts will put bad guys in the dirt 2 for $1. That's assuming they're using the standard 308. You see, if you upset the science grunts, maybe they'll break out this monstrosity of engineering and present to you the 50 cal Barry. You see, this one up here is a 308. This is a 50 cal round. This rifle shoots a round so big that it's not even considered anti-personnel. It's considered anti-material. See, if you get hit with a 308, you're going to get a death certificate. You get hit with this double fister, you're not just going to die. You're going to be unborn. I'm trying to tell you Galileo over here is going to revoke your birth certificate from a different zip code. That's just the boomstick. The real weapon are the grunts. Those savages are willing to lay down for literal days at a time in a puddle of their own piss to hunt down the bad guys. These guys are so good at their job, they only shoot in between their heartbeats because the beat of their heart might influence their trigger pull and make them miss. These guys have vision so clear they can see what the bad guy's lunch tastes like from a mile and a half away. I mean, technically you don't have to have 20/20 vision to be a sniper, but it's kind of an unwritten rule. I mean, think about it. There's no rule against being an Amish electrician, but come the fuck on. But in conclusion, if you upset Uncle Sam enough, you very well may have a guy in a George W. costume unalive you with an anti-material cannon. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. This, and this. For all t-shirts now available at this link in my bio. Not on TikTok, that link should be in the video description. Rock bang out. Ah yes, the official state hero of Massachusetts. Today we're talking about Savior Whittemore, quite possibly America's first anti-hero and the most gangster old man of all time. But first, a word from our sponsor, because this video is brought to you by Operation Good Boy. They make all kinds of dog-related products, from supplements to treats to toys to dog picker rubber bags, and Lucio absolutely loves the made in America and she's ready to eat. So yeah, check them out at operationgoodplay.com. It's the code FLAG15, 50% off. Let's get back into the video. Alright, Samuel Whittemore. We don't know much, but here's what we do know. He was born in Charlestown, Massachusetts in 1696. From there, he goes dark. We don't hear from him until 1721 when he gets married to his wife, Elizabeth Spring. Then he goes dark again. There's nothing of him in the historical record until 1744. At the age of 48 years old, he was fighting in King George IV. And during that war, he held the rank of captain, leading an entire platoon of dragoons during the siege of Whitehall. If you don't know, dragoon is just a fancy word for cavalry, so think of like Malfoy's dad from the Patriot, same thing. So that's cool, whatever, but here's the important part that nobody else ever brings up. Like I said, he's a captain, which is a way bigger deal than most people make it out to be, and here's why. There's really only two ways to become an officer in the British military at this point in time. Way number one, you were born into a wealthy British aristocratic family, and daddy's got a lot of money. That's like 95% of the British officers at this point in time. Or way number two, and way less likely, you were a complete badass doing gangster shit on the regular, and they absolutely need you to lead some men. Given the fact that Samuel's just some random colonial that was born in Massachusetts, it kind of narrows down which category he fell into. So he and his men help lay siege to Fort Lewisburg. That goes well. They take over the fort. From there, the war is over. So he heads back home to what is now Arlington, Massachusetts. From there, he goes back to doing seemingly the only other thing he's good at, because I'm not kidding you, this guy does two things his entire life. He plows stuff, and he fights wars. When he's not fighting wars, he's back at home, plowing his fields, and plowing his wife, because this dude has 10 kids. I am not kidding you. There's only two things on the historical record that even prove that this man existed for the next 10 years. One is the sheer amount of birth certificates where he is listed as father. I mean, the mother is always his wife. He's not cheating on his wife. It's just they're having a bunch of kids. And second, and my most favorite detail of this entire story, when he came back from war, he had a very, very decorative, ornate, almost gaudy French officer's sword covered in gold and rhinestones and jewels and all kinds of shit. And it became his prized possession that he would show off to all of his buddies in town. And when they would ask him where on earth he got that, the only thing he would say is, and I quote, "The previous owner died suddenly. I acquired it." Alright, so fast forward 10 years. It's now 1754, and Attila the Whittemore over here is approximately 58 years old, and the French and Indian War breaks out. Now, is Sam having to go fight this war? Absolutely not. He's a 58-year-old man in the 1700s. Life expectancy is 60. He should be killing over any minute now, but he also has 10 kids, so he's literally like, honey, I gotta go beat up the French again. Okay, bye. If you don't know, the French and Indian War is basically the Kingdom of France versus the British Empire, and both sides are backed by different tribes. This is supposedly the war that Mel Gibson's character fought in his Patriot, and presumably where he got his full tomahawk from. Now, I know what you're thinking. Did Sam Whittemore get it? No, he didn't. But what he did get was two matching dueling pistols that were super cool. And you're never going to believe this, but the previous owner died suddenly. Okay, look, it's not stealing if they don't exist anymore. That's just the rules, I guess. So Sam and his men beat up on the French yet again. He acquires some fancy dueling pistols, and then he heads back home. Okay, fast forward again. It is now 1763, and Sam Whittemore is 67 years old, and the Pontiac Rebellion breaks out. Surely he's going to sit this one out, right? Absolutely not. He grabs his French sword, he grabs his double dueling pistols, his musket, and he heads off to war yet again. So he goes, he fights in that war for a little bit, comes back home, at which point he decides that he's going to get involved in politics. So somewhere along the line, he starts rolling around in political circles, he finds himself at a fancy dinner party, and there's this guy there that's running for House of Representatives. His name is John Bassett, and he represents everything Sam hates. Sam is a small town farmer that's just trying to plant his crops and bang his wife. And this guy is like a big, powerful merchant out of Boston, big city, running ports, making all this money. He wants to get into office to make laws more beneficial to him so he can be rich, and Sam is just trying to get by. So, at this dinner party, Sam is not scared of anybody and points at, hey, by the way, you're no better suited for office than the horse I rode in on. By the way, my horse's name is Nero, and he's parked out front, and he's not worth 5 pounds, which I'm not an expert in translating old 90 colonial speak, but it sounds like he's saying you're not worth a horse's ass, go fuck yourself. At which point, John Bassett gets very upset and decides that he's going to sue Sam for public defamation for the price of £1,000, which is a shit ton of money back then. So the entire town finds out about this lawsuit, and they all show up in court to actually watch the trial, because Sam represents that grizzled old man who's just saying what's on everybody's mind, but nobody else has the ability to say. And he goes in and basically turns this entire trial into the roast of John Bassel. Ends up winning. Sam doesn't get sued. At which point, he slaps him with a counter lawsuit on the spot and ends up countersuing him for $200. Wins. So that kind of launches Sam's political career. Fast forward again. It is now 1765. The British Empire has been fighting France for quite a while. It's getting expensive. They need to make more money, and the best thing they can come up with is a stamp act. Basically, they're going to charge the colonials a tax on every single printed piece of paper that they come up with. This is like the modern day equivalent of it. Every time you made a phone call, sent a text, visited a website, you had to pay a tax for it. And people are absolutely outraged, and Sam is infuriated. I mean, from his point of view, he's been fighting the French for the British Empire, and now he's going to have to pay an extra tax just for doing it. He's so mad that he ended up becoming a hardcore revolutionary. But he's also like a 70-year-old man, so he's mostly just serving on committees, being like, hey, maybe America should be its own country, we shouldn't pay so much in taxes, yada, yada, yada. Fast forward again. It is now 1773. Samuel Whittemore is a 75-year-old man, and the British government has just rolled out their new and improved strategy for making even more money, the Tea Act. Yeah, they're going to start taxing the importation of tea, which will go down in history as one of the greatest ideas of all time. Now, at this point, Sam was serving on a committee representing his hometown of Cambridge, which would later become known as Arlington. And that committee sent a response to the British government in regards to the Tea Act that basically says, fine, if you're going to charge us more money, we're just not going to buy your tea, because, and I quote, if we fail to assert our rights, we will dwindle into subcontinence. Now, like I said earlier, not an expert in translating old-timey colonial talk, but it sounds like Sam's committee just told the British government that we're not going to buy your metric leaf water because we're not going to let you guys fuck us. That's why. At this point, pretty much everybody in America's pissed off. They start smuggling tea to avoid taxes. The Boston Tea Party happens December 1773. From there, people just start stockpiling guns and gunpowder and supplies, getting ready for war with one ship right now. Now, fast forward April 1775, General Thomas Gage is the military governor of Massachusetts, and he will be residing in Boston to return to the British military stronghold. At that point, General Gage decides, hey, you know what? I'm going to get proactive. I'm going to stomp out this whole rebellion talk right here, right now. I'm going to take 700 men, an entire regiment, and I'm going to march them out to Lexington and Concord. While they're in Lexington, they're going to arrest those stupid, annoying revolutionaries, John Hancock and Samuel Adams, and then they're going to continue marching to Concord, where they're going to burn down all the stocked up military supplies. So the British military starts making preparations for a huge movement, at which point revolutionary spies find out and they decide to let everybody know. And when I say they decide to let everybody know, I mean a silver split from Boston legend, Paul Revere, is going to take off at midnight, ride through the entire countryside, going house to house, telling everybody that the British are coming. And guess whose house is between Boston and Lexington? Sam motherfucking Whittemore, that's who. I'm not shitting you. It is like 99% sure that Paul Revere showed up at 78-year-old Samuel Whittemore's house sometime in the middle of the night and was like, hey, just let you know, the British are coming. At which point he's like, then presumably Paul Revere is like, okay, whatever, I gotta go warn everybody else, and Samuel goes back to bed. That morning, April 19th, 1775, the British are marching and they're almost to Lexington, and they are cut off by 77 Minutemen, led by a man by the name of John Parker. John Parker orders the Minutemen to, quote, stand your ground, don't fire unless fired upon, but if they need to have war, let it begin here. So the British roll up with 700 trained professional soldiers and tell these 77 Minutemen, literally farmers, and just picked up whatever guns they had around and told them, disperse rebel scum. At which point the Minutemen are like, nah, we're good. We're going to stay right here, so are you. And that's exactly what happens. They just stand there staring at each other from across this field. The British officer not knowing what to do because he has to get to Concord to get rid of these supplies and so for his orders, but he also doesn't want to open fire on these guys because that would be the start of the Revolutionary War. So they just stood there, seemingly forever, in formation, ready to throw down, waiting for the other guy to get close. Suddenly, from the American side, a gun goes off. Nobody knows who fired, nobody knows why, but this was the shot around the world that would start the American Revolution. And for all we know, it could have been some old farmer that just dropped his gun. From there, all hell breaks loose. Both sides fire on each other. 8 American Minutemen are killed, and the British advance towards Concord. The surviving Minutemen take off to go tell everybody the Revolutionary War has officially begun, as the British spend the next 4 hours searching through Concord, gathering all the military supplies and lighting them on fire. Everybody in the surrounding area sees all the smoke from the burning supplies, and they think that the British military is burning down the entire town of Concord. Because of that, 2,000 Minutemen show up to fight back, at which point the British are like, oh shit, and they start retreating. They run across the bridge and start ripping the flags off of it as they go, at which point the 2,000 Minutemen and 700 British soldiers fire upon one another from either side of this bridge as the British continue to retreat. The British now have to march 18 miles back to their military stronghold in Boston in their stupid high-vis red coats, and every single American with a gun between there and Boston is taking pot shots at them from the Whittemore. During this retreat, 26 redcoats go missing, 175 are wounded, and 73 are killed, and 3 of them at least are from Samuel Whittemore. So we cut back to Samuel Whittemore. He's 78 years old, chilling at home, presumably plowing something. What? We don't really know. And he just hears gunfire going off in the background. It's getting closer and closer. And then he remembers, oh, that fucking kid woke me up last night at midnight, told me the British were coming. Maybe that's what's going on. So he goes, he grabs his fancy French officer's sword, both of his dueling pistols, and his musket, and he goes out to the main road that the British would be marching past. And he's going to stand by the stone wall next to the main road and just wait for the fight to come to him like a complete badass that he is. At this point, all the younger men are running up to check on this old man, like, hey, what are you doing? You shouldn't be out here. And if you are going to try to do this kind of stuff, at least go out the wood line like a second-story window to hide yourself like the rest of us so you don't get yourself killed. To which Samuel Whittemore responds, and I quote, if I can only be the instrument for killing one of my country's foes, I shall die in peace. Which I think we can all agree is gangster as fuck. At this point, this man is literally the living embodiment of old man's strength. He's just that old, grizzled, veteran Viking. He's got one more fight left in him and wants to die in battle so he can go to Valhalla. So he stays there, he loads his musket, he loads his pistols, and he waits. And he waits. Finally, the British come marching right down the road, dead at him. As they get close, he crouches down behind the stone wall with his musket and waits until they get to point-blank range, and that's when he pops up over the wall, aims his gun, and fires, immediately killing one redcoat on the spot, drawing both of his pistols, killing 2 more redcoats, drawing his sword, and charging into over 500 soldiers on his own. He is then immediately shot in the face. He falls to the ground and is somehow still alive, so he reaches to grab one of his guns and start reloading it, at which point the British run up and stab him with bayonets, somewhere between 6 and 13 times. Apparently, after the first 5, they all kind of blend together. He is then clubbed in the head with the butt of a rifle and left for dead, as his body lays there, mangled and lifeless, as the British continue to march through the town on their way to Boston. 4 hours later, the townspeople notice that his corpse starts moving. So they pick Samuel up, they get him over to the doctor, they alert the family. The family shows up to the doctor, at which point the local town doctor, Nathaniel Tufts, is like, he was 78 years old. He wasn't prepared to handle a fall down the stairs, let alone getting stabbed 13 times and shot in the head. Okay, like, there's no way this old man's gonna make it. But like I said, his family members start showing up, and guess how many direct descendants Samuel Whittemore has at this point in time after all that plowing? Go ahead, give it a guess. Say it in your head. Okay, you got your number? Okay, he's got 185 living descendants, okay? He's got 5 generations beneath him. He's got kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, great-grandkids squared, and great-grandkids cubed. 185 people showing up to the doctor like, hey, save grandpa. At this point, poor Dr. Tufts is like, dude's gonna die, but I'm not about to tell 180 grandkids that, so I'll try my best. So he does what he can, he bandages him up, he sends him home with his family, and they take care of him for the remainder of his days. And when I say the remainder of his days, what I mean is, let me check my notes real quick. I mean that he passed on February 3rd, 1793. This motherfucker lived for 18 more years and passed away at the age of 96. And to commemorate Samuel Whittemore, there's actually a monument where he made his last stand. You said that he was 78 during his last stand and 96 when he died, and that clearly says that he was 98 when he died and 80 during his last stand. Why are you so dumb? Okay, look, I understand your point, and I also can kind of sort of read, and I realize the irony because this is literally written in stone, and I'm telling you that it's wrong, but it is wrong. That is the only source that says that he was 98 when he died and 80 during his last stand. Every other source says that he was 78 and 96. This has been proven to be false multiple times, but they don't want to change it because monuments are already so old. So, yes, I'm sticking with what I said. But the most important part of this picture is to actually zoom in on the house in the background. That's Samuel Whittemore's original house where he lived his entire life. It's still around today as an historical site in Arlington, Massachusetts. And that monument is in the front yard. So if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, what I'm trying to tell you is, in conclusion, this has been the story of America's first and oldest gangster, a 78-year-old grizzled veteran that woke up on the first day of the American Revolutionary War and decided to casually go 3-0 while telling... I don't have a daughter, but if I did, this is where I would want her to look at. Today we're talking about Virginia Hall, a.k.a. the Libyan lady, probably the most effective American spy in World War II, and she managed to do that with one leg. But first, a word for our sponsors. This video is brought to you by Rich Wallet. If you've been on the internet the last decade, you know what Rich Wallet is. I'm not going to waste your time. Rich hired me to tell you to buy your dad a Rich Wallet for Christmas. If your dad's anything like mine, his wallet probably looks like a Gutenberg Bible and his back hurts. And nobody has ever pointed out to this poor guy that, hey, maybe your back hurts because every time you sit down, you've got a phone book underneath one butt cheek and you look like you're eating Tower of Pisa inside the chair. So head over to rich.com/DFU and shop the holiday sale. You're going to save up to 30%, and when you use my link, you're also going to be automatically enrolled in a chance to win a $4,000 bundle from Rich. Let's get back to the video. Alright, Virginia Hall, born in 1906 in Baltimore. She grew up in a really wealthy family and was a complete tomboy the entire time. Her father absolutely loved it. He taught her how to hunt, and he completely endorsed her being not very big by all the time. In addition to being accomplished, she was also highly intelligent, graduated from high school with ease, and getting accepted into the top major colleges. Her mother, on the other hand, had different plans because immediately after high school, she expected Virginia to get married to a young man from another wealthy family in the area so they could combine their family businesses. So she gets engaged to this guy at 18 years old. Fast forward 1 year, she's 19 years old, and she keeps catching her fiancé cheating on her, so she calls off the engagement and runs off to college despite her own suspicions. She immediately attempts to copy female colleges from Kentucky, graduating with a barter, which is the equivalent of Harvard and money. She studies economics at Harvard, and she's excited that she was to become an American diplomat. She wants to live in an embassy and represent the United States of America. However, this is the 1920s, and the odds of a female getting a job are slightly down, but she wants to maximize her chances. So she looks to speak more languages as possible. She becomes fluent in German, Italian, and French, and finishes college abroad studying in Germany, France, and Austria. While finishing college in Europe in the late 1920s, she would bear witness to the birth of fascism and the rise of the Nazi Party, and had a better understanding of how dangerous that ideology was than 99% of Americans. She would return home in 1929. A few months after that, the stock market would crash, the Great Depression would start. Her father, a wealthy business owner, would lose almost everything, and increased stress would lead to a heart attack and die. This made Virginia more determined to accomplish her goal of becoming an American diplomat, so she got a job working for the U.S. Embassy in Poland as a secretary. She worked there for several years, and every year she would apply for a promotion to become the U.S. diplomat. Every year, something would happen. The first year, they lost her application. The second year, her application made through because she delivered it herself, and she was a shoo-in. She could speak 4 languages, she was a college graduate, she was highly intelligent, well-spoken, so she passed the application portion of the hiring process and had to have an in-person interview. Conveniently, they accidentally told her the wrong place at the wrong time to be, and so she got disqualified again. Realizing that that embassy had out for her and was not enough of a woman to become a diplomat, she transferred to a different embassy in the country. So now it's 1933, she's living in Turkey, she's working as a receptionist in the embassy still, and she's just waiting for that next opportunity to apply to become a diplomat. One of her hobbies at this point in time is about hunting with a shotgun with her father and mom when she was a kid. It's a regular hobby for a woman, but Virginia's in the regular type of woman. So she goes out hunting with her friends one day, and they're hunting for snipes, which if you don't know is this little tiny bird, apparently they're really hard to hit, and this is where the term sniper comes from. Regardless, at one point she has to hop over a fence, she's got to get the safety on her shotgun, and accidentally blow her out. Luckily her friends were there, they managed to pick her up, get her to the hospital in time to save her life. While she's in the hospital recovering, she would end up getting gangrene, which is a very, very serious type of infection, especially back then in the 30s, because antibiotics weren't going to be widely used And I mean, the doctors back there, they're basically just grunts with scalpels. So they come over to Virginia and they're like, hey, here's the deal. You're going to die. There's one chance we can save you. Basically, my medical opinion is your leg is pissed off. It's trying to kill you. My strategy is I'm going to kill it first. I'm going to cut it off and throw it away. So that's what they do. She gets amputated down. Later in her life, she became that while she was recovering in the hospital, her father would come to her and told her that she had to get through this because she had to go to work. So that's what she does. She makes a good recovery, gets a wooden prosthetic, learns how to walk again, and goes right back to trying to be a parent. However, you gotta remember she's a complete tomboy. It's the first thing the dude does when he gets in the car, new set of wheels, new gun, he always gets a name, right? Right. Virginia named her wooden leg Cup. So she goes. However, now they have a legitimate reason to not allowed to come on. They don't need to lose their application. They don't need to do the wrong dates and the wrong times anymore. Because apparently there was a pre-established rule that APPs were not allowed to be diplomats. Why? I have no idea. But it turns out that Virginia has now both literally and figuratively shot herself. Virginia, being the badass that she is, though, isn't ready to go for answers, so she feels lobbying to have the rules changed altogether. She doesn't have much success. Fast forward 1940, Germany invades France, and Virginia is like, fuck it, I'm going to be an ambulance driver and help out the French because I hate Nazis. And that's exactly what she does. Virginia, a 35-year-old woman that was physically unfit to be an American diplomat where she would have to sit in office and talk to people, is now on the way to France to be an ambulance driver and handle. So she's an ambulance driver all throughout the Battle of Paris, and she is one of, if not the first Americans to actually stand up and fight against the Nazis. After France falls, she has to flee, so she hops on a train and makes her way over to Spain. While she's at the train station, she meets a British female officer, and she tells him her story. This guy is so impressed. He's like, hey, take this phone number and call my friend. He can probably help find you a job when you're ready to go. That's where you want to go. So she calls the number looking for a job, and that number puts her in contact with a man by the name of Nicholas Bobby, one of the head guys of the newly formed British SOE. SOE standing for Special Operations Executive, which is just the new spin-off of Great Britain's Ministry of Objectivity Warfare, aka their equivalent of the CIA. So she talks to them, and pretty much immediately want her to be a spy. She speaks German, she speaks French, she's lived in France, she understands the culture, and most importantly of all, she's an American. And this is important because that means she can use her actual American identity and all her real documentation to get to the Germans, to get to the French, posing as a journalist. Virginia immediately agrees to goes on training for the next 6 months where the other is to know about espionage, but there's so much she needed at that time. Fast forward 6 months later, mid-1941, Virginia Hall, the spy, is dropped off in Fiji, France, which if you don't know at this point in time, France is split into two. There's occupied France and there's unoccupied France, also referred to as Vichy France. Now, Vichy France is technically supposedly free, but pretty much everybody knows it's a public state. And Hall's job is to go up there, posing as a journalist for the New York Post, build a spy network and do anything she can to fuck with the Nazis. Okay, just so we're on the same page, this isn't like the movies where she has like instructions to go meet some guy that's her connection and she like integrates with this party and sees the spy network. No, she was the first spy to go in. She had to go in and build the network from scratch. They took Hall, a 35-year-old woman in wooden leg, gave her some money and some cyanide pills in case she got caught, sent her into enemy held territory and said, fucking figure it out. So Hall shows up in New York, France, and she doesn't even have anywhere to stay. All the hotel rooms are full, all the houses are rented. So many people have been displaced from the war, there's nowhere for her to stay. So when she first gets to France, she ends up living with a bunch of Nazi first. But she like had a curfew, the whole 9 weeks. Then after a couple weeks, she finally gets a hotel room, and that's where she sets up her headquarters and makes her first call. She goes straight to the U.S. Embassy in Dresden. The head of the U.S. Embassy is like, absolutely not. America's been through war, nothing to do. But the second in command of the American Embassy pulls her aside and is like, yes, I'm willing to help. And this is really important because this is the only way she's going to be able to communicate with one embassy. And because it's an embassy, they have a people artifacts. So it's going to be mailed that's not being secreted by the Nazis before it goes out. So, and this guy's going to slip her messages to London and artifact is going to be the only way that she's going to be able to get communication outside of France. So she gets it done. She establishes a connection. She now has a way to communicate with the outside world. On to the next order of business. Go see the gynecologist. Not for her, for the Nazis. You see, she has a two-pronged attack method. She's going to use to wreak havoc from the German ranks. Step A, recruit a gynecologist. Step B, recruit a brothel. Alright, so here's the plan. She gets this gynecologist who's going to be by the name of Jean Rosette. She gets a brothel owner by the name of Germaine Garrett to start working. And the plan she works out is the brothel owner is going to send all of his employees to this particular gynecologist, and he's going to sort out the ones that do not have STDs and the ones that do have STDs, and he's not going to treat them, but he's going to give them a clean bill of health. The brothel owner is only going to let those ones sleep with the Nazis. So already Hall is establishing herself as a diabolical master. I mean, she's conducting biological warfare, weapons of mass destruction, if you will. All the other spies are out there worrying about intercepting mail and sending secret messages, and she's over here destroying the German ranks from the inside out and making them enjoy it while she does it. And the scary part is she's just getting warmed up. See, now she starts sending messages back to London to the diplomatic bag, asking for supply drives from the countryside, and she gets them. They're dropping off guns and explosives, and she's turning around and giving them these guerrilla fighters and these doing anything they can to fight the Germans. And then she's also getting money from private officials and heroin. Yeah, the second prong of her prostitute attack on the German ranks is that after the employees have already given the Germans an STD, they're then also going to attempt to give them heroin. I mean, the Germans get all this credit for developing their brilliant blitzkrieg tactic during World War II, which credited from the Whittemore. I'm going to go ahead with whatever authority I have, and I'm going to dub this the Guadalcanal tactic in honor of Virginia Hall, because this is brilliant. So this keeps going for months and months, and she develops more and more connections, builds this enormous spy network that is officially being the code name Hector. And every month, more and more spies are coming in, and she's helping them get set up, because these spies know how to send wireless transmissions. So now there's other ways of getting messages outside of France. Earlier, these wireless transmissions are being tracked by the Nazis, and a lot of these spies are being popular. So then fast forward October 1941, all the other spies, there's like 12 other ones in the area right now, and they decide they're going to have a big meeting. Basically, they're coming up with an excuse to get together and have a party and actually talk about the stuff they've been doing, which is a future state for a spy. So Virginia avoids it. Sure enough, all 12 spies get busted and captured. This was known as the Marseille House trap, where the Germans stopped and captured 12 spies all at once. They captured all the wireless operators, and again, Virginia is basically the only spy on the ground, and she is the only spy still capable of getting a message out to London. So she sends a message out to London, basically saying that everybody else has been captured, nobody else is going to be able to communicate except for her. In addition to that, the German Gestapo also now know what she looks like in their drawings of her, and they know that she walks with a limp. They're starting to call her the Limping Lady. So she's effectively number one on the Gestapo's most wanted list, and the Gestapo, you know, at this point in time, is Klaus Barbie, one of the most brutal Nazis of war. And he is quoted as saying, "I would do anything to find that Limping Lady that she think would work." He believed that she had to be Canadian because he didn't think the Americans speak French so fluently. London then responds by saying, "Hey, that's terrible, A, but also go ahead and flee, get out of the country, they're going to find you. They know what you look like, they know you walk the limb, and every time you make a step with your hollow wooden leg, there is a distinct wood noise. They're going to catch you." Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but this Virginia basically said, "Hold my leg and watch this shit." Rather than she decides that she's going to avoid spreading a jailbreak of the other 12 spies that have been captured. But she's playing it on hardcore mode because the Germans know that they're looking for the Limping Lady, and every time she takes a step with her hollow wooden leg, it makes a wood noise. And then their plot armor activates and divine intervention kicks in, because supplies into France are so low, so scarce, that they're no longer being rubber and leather to make shoes out of anymore. People have to start carving their shoes out of wood, and all of a sudden, everybody's walking around making wood noises, completely disguising their movements. So rather than fleeing the country, she tracks down the prison while spies are being held at, then finds somebody that works in the prison, convinces them to give her the roster of the prisoners, and uses that to track down a different, completely unrelated prisoner's wife on the outside, befriend her, and convince her to help her. Virginia, not wanting to be seen herself because they know what she looks like, decides that she's going to have this other prisoner's wife start smuggling in supplies with the 12 spies, and by extent, this one's husband. Like they're making handcuff keys and screwdrivers into cakes and shit and smuggling these supplies. And this goes so well that she decides she's really going to start showing off. She's going to try to smuggle in entire wireless set into the prisoners. And the wireless set is like the size of a briefcase. So she gets a 70-year-old priest double amputee from World War I to smuggle this briefcase in by sitting on it in his wheelchair. And he ends up giving it to the other spies that actually know how to use the equipment. Here's the thing, the spies on the inside needed a really big antenna to make this thing work. So they ran a wire from their cell into this like wireless setup outside across the yard and attached it to the boundary fence using the entire fence as an antenna and somehow never got out. So now the spies are transmitting messages from inside the prison directly to London. So fast forward like a month, Virginia has smuggled these guys everything they need to be able to break out from the inside. And once they get outside the boundary fence, she's going to pick them up, get them to a safe house, and smuggle them out of the country. Everything is completely arranged. Then on the day of the jailbreak, Virginia makes sure that somebody else tries to smuggle a bunch of booze to the prisoners, knowing that they would get caught and with regard to them drinking all the alcohol that night, it made it easier for the spies to slip away. Which is exactly what happens that night. All the guards are drinking, partying, having a good time. While that's going on, the spies are utilizing the handcuffing and all the tools Virginia smuggled in to escape. They run across the yard under the cover of night, scale the perimeter fence, and waiting there is Virginia, who immediately takes them to a safe house. They hide for 2 weeks straight while the entire Gestapo is searching everywhere for them. And then she smuggles them out of the country. Okay, fast forward a month, it's November 1942. She escapes that huge jailbreak, all the Germans are looking for her. And now the Gestapo has brought in an additional 500 men, all with the sole purpose of finding the eliminating. Because at this moment, Virginia decides it's probably time. But with 500 people Gestapo all looking for a woman to live, she can't take the normal ways out of the country. So the only method she has to escape is to take this freedom trail of 50 miles hiking through these mountains across northern France and Spain. And she was given in November the coldest winter for France on the country. So it's a 3 to 4 day hiking trail for people doing it for fun and not in the world with her. Virginia manages to do it in 2 days with a 20-way. During her hike, she's communicating with London via radio, not like secret spy radio, just normal radio transmissions. It was before cover, she was already alone, she was leaving anyway, so it didn't really matter. And she would tell London that Cutler was getting her issues because, sure, she was national hiking with a 20-leg, and pretty tiresome after a while.
Would appear so, wouldn't it?
To which London, not only Cutler was, responded by saying, if Cutler is giving me problems, have one let him. So she crosses the border to Spain after 2 days, completely badass. She's escaped her husband. 48 hours after she leaves her entire hotel room is ransacked because the Germans finally figured out who she was, and she had escaped just in the nick of time. And then she promptly gets arrested by Spanish authorities for illegal immigration. So then she has to get a message out to London, out to America. They finally bail her out. She goes back to London, working in the SOE. She's like, okay, well, cool, send me back in. They're like, no, your cover's wrong. You're no longer going to do. That's it. We're not going to let you do anything else as far as like anti-legal or recovery goes. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but Virginia Hall basically says, okay, well, peace out, Brits. I'm going to go work with the Americans. So she goes over to America, goes to the OSS, the direct predecessor of the CIA, and is like, hey, I'm more experienced than any spy you guys have. Put me in coach. To which the OSS is like, sure, why not? Give her a shot. This time, Virginia makes sure that she takes a wireless training class though, so now she can also send wireless training to the signals. She doesn't want to be a spy not able to like last time. So she does that. She then realizes that she's going to have to pretend to be a much older woman. This would help disguise her lip, and it would help change her face so that they knew what she looked like. So she goes to a professional Halloween makeup artist, learns how to do makeup to look like a really old woman, and then she goes to a dentist in London and grinds all her teeth down so she looks like she has terrible teeth, like the French peasant. The OSS then sneaks her back into France on a PT boat and drops her off completely by herself again. And from there, she just starts doing it all over again. She develops a huge spy network again. This time, she's posing as an elderly old lady by day and a spy master by night. At this point in time, the French resistance had all kinds of guerrilla fighters, but they were basically just running around blowing shit up, being as nuisance as they possibly could, and weren't being strategic about it at all. So for the next year and a half, Virginia set out to establish the chain of command and actually get them to work together and coordinate attacks. By 1944, she had amassed an entire army. She had 3 battalions, 1,500 guerrilla fighters that she was coordinating attacks against Germany from the inside, all while transmitting sending signals to the Americans to have them drop off supplies like guns and explosives to continue fighting. She would then be notified that in June of 1944, D-Day was going to happen. These leading up to it, she used her guerrilla army to coordinate and sabotage major highways, railroads, communication lines, and bridges, preventing the Germans from reinforcing the right beaches in timely fashion, potentially changing the entire course of the war. And somewhere around this time frame, the OSS was sending a reinforcement to help Virginia out. A young Polish operative by the name of Paul. He parachuted and later to the Academy of Influence on the operation, but him and Virginia would end up falling. After the war, they would both move back home to America, where Paul would gain citizenship, and they would both begin their careers working for the newfound CIA. They would then go on to lead a specialized task force monitoring communism in the Eastern Bloc. Yeah, this incredible story literally ends with two spies falling in love and going out on missions together. In 1945, President Truman wanted to give Virginia the Distinguished Service Cross, the highest honor a civilian could receive, because technically spies were the military civilian eligible for the honor. But President Truman wanted to give this to her in a humongous ceremony, tell her story, and make her basically an international hero and celebrity. Virginia, however, declined that offer because she didn't want to cover more. She still wanted to be operational and capable of helping the United States and the world if she was needed. She became the only female civilian of World War II to be awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, and was awarded to her by General William Donovan, and by her own request, it was awarded in front of only one witness, her mom. Her future husband and fiance, Paul, wasn't there because she didn't think her mother was worth it. This woman was behind enemy lines fighting against Nazis for all of World War II, the entire thing, longer than probably any other American, and she's still scared of the opinions of mom. And that's it. Virginia and Paul would live happily ever after. They retired at 60 years old, and Virginia would pass away at the age of 76 in 1980. And nobody knew anything about this until they read her obituary. She never gave an interview. She never wrote a memoir. She never said a single thing. And later in life, when she was asked why she never talked about it, she said, and I quote, "Too many of my friends died from talking," which I think we can all agree is gangster as fuck. So, in conclusion, this is the story of Virginia Hall, the deadly spy of World War II. Thank you for watching. Best reason for the channel is to buy some merch on battlenutrition.com. Quack Bang, out. The fact that people know and care more about Kim Kardashian than Virginia.
Current owners and lessees of any vehicle with this no mileage lease on this 2024 Cadillac Lyric for around 3.
Today we're talking about the most gangster politician in American history. Ladies and gentlemen, Cassius Marcellus Clay, a.k.a. the Lion of Whitehall. Whitehall being his family home he grew up in Kentucky as the son of one of the richest slave owners in all of America. While going to college at Yale to become a lawyer, he did get a speech from a famous abolitionist by the name of William Lloyd Garrison, and that speech would change the entire trajectory of Cassius Clay's life as well as American history. It is at that moment that Cassius Clay decided he was not only going to be quietly opposed to slavery, but that he was actively going to fight against it. He would be set down the path to become the most influential abolitionist of all time. Sorry for bothering the video. Real quick, this video is brought to you by the biggest sponsor of the channel and my favorite sporting goods store, Shields. They've got over 30 retail locations across the United States and an even better online store that I'm going to have linked down below. And you can use use my code, you're going to get free shipping. They've got everything you can imagine there. This is where I got this shirt. This is where I got this backpack. All of it was on sale. It was a great deal. Again, use my code down below. You're going to get free shipping. Back to the video. Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot to mention Muhammad Ali's original name was Cassius Clay. Yeah, he was actually named after this guy. Anyways, back to the video. Bye-bye. If you don't know at this point in time, there's basically a few different camps you can fall into for being anti-slavery. You can be an abolitionist or emancipationist. An emancipationist is somebody that wants to vote it out over time over the next 5, 10, 20 years, versus an abolitionist, which is somebody that believes we need to end slavery right now and they're willing to fight about it. And in the case of Cassius Clay, he was willing to fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. You see, Cassius Clay wasn't just some no punk kid that went off to college and decided that he didn't like slavery. This was the son of one of the wealthiest slave owners in all of America. So for him to come out and voice anti-slavery views was a huge deal, and it pissed off a lot of people. So, being that this was the 1820s, what do you do when you're pissed off? You challenge somebody to a duel. So needless to say, the young Cassius Clay found himself partaking in an awful lot of duels, and he never, ever lost. So, obviously, he's pretty good at it. What do you do when you find something you're pretty good at? You want to keep doing it, right? Right. So Cassius Clay starts challenging anyone and everyone to a duel that dares to oppose him. It became common knowledge in his community that Cassius Clay would be willing to fight the wind if it blew from the west and he wanted it to blow from the east. This man went on a dueling rampage, so much so that by the time he graduated college, he was considered to be the deadliest duelist in all of North America. This guy was putting slave owners in the dirt like he was Johnny Appleseed playing fucking trains. He became known as the deadliest abolitionist of all time. So he graduates from college, goes back home as a lawyer. Shortly after that, his father passes away and leaves everything with Cassius Clay. Cassius Clay immediately frees all of his father's slaves, costing himself $40,000, which is roughly $2 million today. And then he even gives some of the slaves land and money on top of it. Absolutely infuriating the pro-slavery community. So, what do you do when half the local population hates your guts? You run for public office, and that's exactly what Cassius Clay did. He served in the Kentucky State Legislature from 1835 to 1841, and then finally lost his re-election, to which the pro-slavery crowd breathed a huge sigh of relief because they finally defeated Cassius Clay, or so they thought. Clay immediately starts traveling the country, giving amazing anti-slavery speeches, winning over hearts and minds, and this absolutely infuriates the pro-slavery people because they don't know how to stop him. You can't legally stop a guy from talking to people that want to listen to him, and they can't legally kill Cassius Clay in a duel because he's the best duelist on earth. What do? You gotta illegally kill him. The problem with that is they can't find a hitman that's dumb enough to think that they can take out Cassius Clay, so they have to go to the one crevice of the planet where they can find somebody truly insane enough to think that they can do this job. That man's name was Sam Brown, an assassin from New Orleans. 1834, Russell Cave, Kentucky. Cassius Clay's finishing up one of his world-famous speeches as he pulls out a burlap sack, reaches into the sack and pulls out a holy Bible and says, "For those of you that believe in the laws of God, I make me this argument against slavery." He sets the Bible on the table, reaches back in the sack, pulls out a copy of the U.S. Constitution, and says, "For those of you that believe in the laws of man, I present to you this argument against slavery." Sets the Constitution down, drops the burlap sack to the ground, and says, "For those of you that believe in neither the laws of God or man, I make you this argument against slavery." As he pulls out both of his pistols and sets them on the table, which I think we all agree is gangster as fuck. And at this moment, Sam Brown comes up on stage and shoots Cassius Clay point blank in the chest. Luckily, Cassius Clay never leaves home without his trusty Bowie knife, which resides inside of a metal sheath. And that metal sheath would catch Sam Brown's bullet, saving Cassius Clay's life. At which point, Cassius Clay would draw his Bowie knife and charge Sam Brown. 6 of Sam Brown's friends in the audience tried to stop Cassius Clay. He would fight his way through all 6 of them, making his way to Sam Brown, promptly stabbing him in the chest, and then turning him into a Mr. Potato Head by cutting off his nose, lopping off his ear, and gouging out one of his eyes. Then the 6 men recovered and were able to peel Clay off of him. Not knowing what to do, knowing they couldn't stop Cassius Clay forever, they panicked, probably for fear that Cassius Clay was going to start shoving this guy's facial features up his ass next. They did the only thing they could come up with to get the two apart. They picked up their friend Sam Brown, threw him over a 7-foot-high stone wall. He fell down an embankment into a creek bed to finally get Cassius Clay away from him. Somehow, Sam Brown survived, but not only was he lucky for that, he was also dumb as fuck because he then decided to take Cassius Clay to court because apparently after Cassius Clay stabbed him the first time, they were even on the whole assassination attempt thing. So Cassius Clay should go to prison for mayhem. So Cassius Clay calls upon his older cousin, one of the best lawyers on the planet that had never lost an open court with over 40 years of experience, Henry Clay. Henry Clay goes into court and his entire defense for his cousin is, and I quote, "Your Honor, this is just standard behavior for a Kentucky." And the judge is just like, "You're innocent." Free to go, that's it. Best court case ever. Literally walks in and just goes,
I thought this was there. Oh, is this America? I'm sorry, I thought it was...
Looking for a treatment option that's right for you? Ask your healthcare provider for more information and visit Entivio.com. With Entivio, you may be able to pay as little as $5 per dose.
You can skip this ad, but don't skip the part that can help you get the job done. At Granger, we're here for you with supplies and solutions for everything.
So after Cassius Clay was found innocent, Henry Clay decides that he's going to run for president, and Cassius is going to help the campaign. Cassius is going to tour the country, giving speeches, saying, hey, well, because there's a rule with that, Henry Clay told him he's only allowed to tour the northern states because he's actually legitimately concerned that if he sends Cassius to the south, he's going to shoot so many fucking slave owners and duels that it could be considered voter fraud. So Henry Clay ends up losing the presidential election, and Cassius moves on to his next life adventure, which is becoming an author and writing anti-slavery news articles. The problem with that was none of the newspapers were willing to publish him, so he says, fuck you, I'll start my own newspaper, The True American. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, starting an anti-slavery newspaper in fucking Kentucky in 1845 was not very popular, and his business would receive death threats pretty much every day, some of which were written for him. So Cassius Clay, in true Cassius Clay fashion, says, fuck it, I guess we're going to fight about it. He then proceeds to up-armor his entire business in his printing office. He covers the entire front of the office in a large iron sheet. He installs several cannons down corridors, stocks the entire thing with loaded guns, and rigs it to explode. Here's the thing, he also doesn't expect his employees to fight to the death for him, so he installs an escape hatch and instructs them to escape if anything goes down, because he's going to fight the entire mob by himself. How's he going to do that? As soon as you walk in the only door to get into that printing office, you find yourself in a long, narrow corridor with iron on each side, just wide enough for a single man to get through. Cassius Clay is going to stand in that narrow corridor and fight the entire mob one man at a time. Literally the mentality of, if you have a problem, take a number, I'll kill you in a minute. This man recreated the entire battle of fucking Thermopylae with 300 Spartans, except he's going to do it all by himself. If you think fucking with John Wick's dog is a bad idea, the last thing you want to do is fuck with Cassius Clay's printing press, because this man is determined to defend the freedom of speech with the right to bear arms at any cost. Obviously, this escalates to Cassius Clay defeating an entire mob single-handedly, right? Wrong. The mob, being full of, super brave pro-slavery men that they're doing the right thing, do the honorable, brave thing, and wait till Cassius Clay is bedridden with typhoid fever, so they know he isn't going to show up. They show up to his business at night and burn the place to the ground because they're a bunch of fucking bitches. Now, Cassius Clay recovers from typhoid fever. He reestablishes the newspaper in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is an anti-slavery stronghold. The only problem with that is being an anti-slavery stronghold, there's not going to be any conflict, and that's fucking boring. So Cassius Clay moves on to another life adventure, volunteering in the Mexican-American War. While serving in the Mexican-American War, he would be a captain leading a group of Kentucky soldiers, and they would be captured pretty much immediately, and he would spend the duration of the entire war as a POW. While serving as a POW, some of the men under his command would escape, meaning that the Mexican military was then going to put the rest of his unit to death. Cassius Clay said, hey, don't kill my men, just kill me and my other fellow officers. We're the ones in charge. It's our fault that those men escaped. It's our responsibility. Please let the lower enlisted men go home. The Mexican military was so impressed by this that they decided to spare everyone, including Cassius Clay, and he would return home before he died. Returning home from the war in 1848, he didn't really know what to do, so he starts giving his famous speeches again, this time leveraging his newfound title as a war hero. So obviously it doesn't take long for him to piss everybody off. He faces yet another assassination attempt. This time, 6 brothers from a wealthy slave owning family show up, the Turner brothers. They show up with clubs and knives and guns, and they beat the living shit out of Cassius Clay with the clubs. They stabbed him multiple times. Cassius Clay whips out his trusted Bowie knife, starts opening up these brothers like they're fucking Amazon packages, making his way to the lead brother and stabbing him an excessive amount of times. We don't know how many times, but we do know it was a lifetime supply. Killing the lead brother, ending the assassination attempt. Cassius Clay would fall to the ground, nearly dead. This would be the closest anybody ever came to actually killing Cassius Clay. When he was asked about it later on in life, all he said was, I felt the utmost indignation, which translates to, I was fucking annoyed. This man almost died from an assassination attempt, and he has the same attitude towards it that I have towards fucking fruit flies, okay? This dude is so metal, he deserves his own spot on the periodic table of elements. Cassius Clay then makes a full recovery from his injuries, starts giving his speeches again. 1853, he donates a large chunk of his land to John P., who uses it to found Berea College, the first co-educational and multiracial college in the South ever. Fast forward to 1860, Cassius Clay is giving speeches in Illinois where he meets a politician by the name of Abraham Lincoln, and they get along great. Cassius Clay is then slotted to become Abraham Lincoln's vice president. However, he's a little bit too Cassius Clay to be an actual big-name politician like that, so they give the job to Hannibal Hamlin, and Cassius Clay becomes the ambassador to Russia. 1861 rolls around, the Civil War breaks out, Cassius Clay is in Russia. Cassius Clay not only convinces Russia to not side with the Confederates, but he convinces Russia to tell Great Britain and France that if they so much as recognize the Confederacy, Russia will go to war with them. And this was a humongous step that nobody talks about in the winning of the Civil War. And it is 100% because of Cassius Clay. Fast forward to 1862. Abraham Lincoln wants to appoint Clay a major general in the Union. Cassius Clay publicly refuses the President of the United States, saying that he's not going to do it until the President signs the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing the slaves of the South. Cassius Clay is literally the man that bullied Abraham Lincoln into prematurely signing the Emancipation Proclamation before he wanted to. And nobody talks about it. Fast forward again to 1865, the Union wins the Great American Scrimmage, the slaves are freed. Cassius Clay has achieved his lifelong goal at the age of 55, bringing an end to slavery in the United States of America. He then goes back to Russia again to serve as ambassador until 1869, and while he is there, he helps to broker the purchase of Alaska. This man is probably the most influential person in American history we've never heard of. After returning home from Russia, Cassius Clay would live out the rest of his days in Whitehall until the age of 80 years old, where he would be declared clinically insane. In hindsight, most likely due to a severe amount of PTSD, as well as potentially dementia. He didn't die from it. He lived on for quite a bit longer. He just picked up a new hobby of fucking with the local sheriff because he was crazy now. Over the course of the next decade, Clay and the sheriff would have multiple run-ins that would be concluded when the sheriff and 7 deputies were repelled from Whitehall when Clay utilized his home defense cannon that he had at the top of the stairwell. At that point, the local sheriff would inform the local judge he will not be returning to Whitehall to tangle with Cassius Clay anymore unless the judge is willing to dispatch an entire company of the local militia to accommodate. Then in 1900, 2 men would break into Whitehall, and Cassius Clay at the age of 89 would manage to kill both of them, one by gunshot and one, yet again, with his trusted bowie. Then in 1903, at the age of 92, Cassius Clay would die of natural causes, or as they called it back then, general exhaustion, which is the most gangster way on the planet to go out. Literally just, I'm tired now, peace, and when he left. In conclusion, when it comes to famous historical household names, there's always another man or woman lurking behind the scenes in the shadows that's deemed too rough around the edges to be in the spotlight, yet they contribute just as much, if not more, to the movement. These men and women are willing to do horrific things for terrific reasons. And when it came to Abraham Lincoln and the abolition of slavery, that man's name was Cassius Marcellus Clay, the most gangster politician in American history. Thanks for watching the video. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch, FatElectrician.com. Whack bang, out.
For 3 years in a row, Chevy has earned more J.D. Power initial quality awards than any other brand. With a high-tech SUV, the all-electric Equinox EV, and a truck for work or play.
Bill is here. Excellent, excellent. We got a lot to talk about today, so we're gonna get right to it. The hectic United States month of October is finally getting on past the history, and with it arriving 400 Americans in the battles of Henderson Field and Santa Cruz, and an astonishing figure of nearly 3,500 Japanese lives at those same events. The Japanese have thrown their very best efforts at Guadalcanal in October, both ashore and offshore, to call up short. The devastating defeat ashore, Battle of Henderson Field, was followed by a tactical victory, but strategic defeat, and flip-flop, whatever you want to say, offshore at Santa Cruz, and left the Japanese in no better position than they were in August, just thousands of lives short. As November dawns, Guadalcanal is still a hotbed of activity. Fighting on the ground just often takes a summer, but it is still a fairly constant struggle. Although no good encouragement as the previous several months have, but the Japanese aren't done. At sea, however, the Japanese are also not through with their efforts to both smash the Americans and destroy Henderson Field. The Japanese will try several more times this month, specifically twice back-to-back nights. First, expected naval clashes occurs on all dates, Friday the 13th. They confused and chaotic melee that follows as the Marlin Brawl. Alright, where do we start with the Battle of Mexico?
No recognizable track chart that's ever been made.
Not a damn one.
Yeah, and there never will be. And actually, just from the Japanese perspective, just to kind of set this up from where they're at, I mean, we joined the action here. The 2nd Division, the Sendai Division, has been defeated in their battle there at this point, limping back to the jungle along the aptly named Maruyama Road, which is nothing more than a path. From the perspective of the wall, the issue here is that we've got way too many troops on this island and not enough supplies. We've got a lot of starving people. And so it's become clear to the Japanese that what has to happen is we've got to figure out some way to get transport ships in here with not only new reinforcements, but importantly, supplies, food, shells, you name it. And the only way to get transports in, they can't operate that, air envelope that Henderson Field poses over this battlefield. It's got to be able to knock out Henderson for 2 to 3 days at least, so that we can drive a convoy in here, unload that convoy, and get those ships back out before Henderson resurrects itself. So that's sort of the backdrop for the Japanese and the way that they're going to knock out Henderson. We're going to bring down some battleships and do what we did back in the middle of October. We're going to bombard this place and put it out of business. That's the game plan.
That's the plan. And plans, as they say, are on good fine.
Yep.
When the shooting starts.
Right.
And to put it in perspective, so like you said, John, the Imperial Army planned to reinforce, planned to reinforce Guadalcanal, and I got some figures on some of the people and things that they were going to bring. They had a large troop convoy that consisted of 7,000 additional well-trained troops, 31,500 artillery shells, and food for 30,000 for 20 days. So, as you said, they were fully aware their people were starving. There's no other way to put it. They were starving to death. And anything that floated during the daytime was going to come under attack from anything that flew on the Henderson Field. And to your point, the only real time that the Henderson Field was like severely damaged was with Haruna and Kondo.
Yep.
Came down that slot and just plastered it. Yeah, shot the Jesus out of Henderson Field for an hour and a half.
The biggest bombardment that American troops have ever suffered in any war that they've been in.
No doubt. I know if you talk to anybody who was there, they remember that.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
A life-changing experience for sure. So that's what the Japanese need to do again. And those battleships are going to be coming down from Truck, their main bastion in the region up in the Caroline Islands. And yeah, they're going to be coming down and repeating that exercise.
So before we get into the nuts and bolts, we're going to talk. So the Japanese are going to send 2 battle lines. They're going to send PA. They're going to send Future. Yep. But that's not all they have in their arsenal in that general vicinity.
Yeah, and this is an area. But yeah, what is the deal? The honest answer is I don't know what the deal is because Hiroshima and Ie's sisters, Kongo and Haruna, are available. They actually are going to steam south along with Admiral Kondo and his force, and they're going to maintain a position off of Ontong Java Atoll, which is actually an undersea atoll north of the Solomon Islands, and they're going to hang off of there and not participate in the battle. Meanwhile, back in the truck itself, you've got the battleship Kutsu, which is a 16-inch gun vessel, and then of course the Yamato, which is an 18.1-inch guns, the largest battleship in the world. They are riding at anchor there with Yamamoto aboard them. And so you really have to wonder here why the Japanese are unwilling
at the very least, to send Congo and Haruna into this formation as well.
That are
And I don't, they are at sea, like burning fuel oil, loitering when they could have come south with the admiral, like a gentleman named Abe Hiroaki. But they don't. And I don't know the answer to why they didn't do that. I don't know that anybody knows that answer. There may have been fuel constraints. The other possibility is that they thought that the waters of Iron Bottom Sound was too constricted to operate 4 battleships in. They may have thought that 4 battleships was simply overkill, and if I bring 2 battleships, the Americans are going to clear out of the Sound and let me do my thing. They're not going to want to have to stand up to me. But for whatever reason, the Japanese lose this opportunity to bring truly overwhelming firepower to this action.
I was going to throw out there that you should possibly, especially with the model, because there's some people on anything.
For sure.
But if you've got 2 other battle weapons at sea,
Right.
it kind of throws that out of the window.
Yeah.
At least
For those 2 vessels. Yeah. And at this point, both the Army and the Navy have come to the conclusion that the Guadalcanal, even though it doesn't look or smell anything like our Freeport Doctrine describes a decisive battle to look like, that this is the decisive struggle in the Pacific at this point. And so, theoretically then, we should be committing every asset we have to winning this struggle. And here again, we see the Japanese sort of being a day late, a dollar short when it comes to truly committing the levels of force that they need to, because they've got a window of opportunity here. I mean, if you look at the sort of the narrative arc of this battle, or the campaign, I guess I would say, around Guadalcanal, I would argue that, late September, but really mid-October to mid-November, that's Japan's window of opportunity to just knock our lights out and win this thing. They have superiority in heavy surface assets if they're willing to commit them, but they're not.
Yeah, I don't get it, and it's very similar on land too. So, and this is not the first time this happens. I mean, if you look at in August of he has his second echelon coming, but he declines to wait for it. That was a decision, obviously, to determine very well. Not that it would have been either way, but regardless, that's just the first indication that this is a repeating thing. It happens in September, but really, thank you. If he waits, or at least doesn't throw his forces out of any kind of sections on the flanks, he throws everything in the middle.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, they're probably on top of that area.
Yeah, right.
But this keeps going on and on and on. Or they have the forces at hand, but they don't.
Put them where they need them. Yeah. So, anyway, that's the backdrop. The Americans now know Turner is running a convoy himself, and the Americans are getting wind of the fact that the Japanese are now bringing down a battleship force. Composition unknown, but we know that there are battleships coming south to Guadalcanal.
The composition of that force, it's 2 battle weapons, as you said, Hiroshima. You got 1 light cruiser and 11 destroyers, and the light cruiser was Nagara and Nagara. Destroyers. So it's not the most powerful force, but it's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
And yes, and in terms, again, of heavy weapons, handily outnumbers anything that we can put in its way. And we're looking at 16, 14-inch rifles at this point, and 11 destroyer loads worth of long-range torpedoes. That's a lot of movement.
So that's a lot of hull capability, for sure. You talked about Turner's conflict that he sent the forces as your friend, Richmond Kelly Turner. And,
well, I'm going to say a good thing about Richmond Kelly Turner at this point. I mean, he does make the decision that, I'm going to strip every escort off of my side. Ready ammunition, was already deployed to support the appropriate war fighting service portion, although, to be quite honest, a 14-inch bombardment shell against something like an American destroyer or even an enemy cruiser will still do a heck of a lot of damage. So, but yeah, the bottom line is that Abe is not expecting opposition. He thinks that the Americans probably are not going to be there when he shows up. This is crucial failure. Yeah, thank you, Brad. Here's something that's that. Yeah. So, the force that meets the actions is simply not force. It's a natural American force consists of two main groups. Three white groups, seven groups, which is fairly sizable. Fairly that's a pretty good scheme for orders to ensuring that we to yeah. And for San Francisco and the USS two aviation groups like Atlanta, cargo free business. Yeah. I mean, Helena is a cruiser, but just one of these big 15, 6-inch guns with, power ramming the whole shear. I mean, this cruiser is a buzz saw, frankly, and short range, with a lot of shells in the air. Juneau and Atlanta, with the animals, almost glorified destroyers, really. But they do have a tremendous number of 5-inch 38, some of them with a lot of lead in the air as well, primarily anti-aircraft, but at short range and surface targets, they're really slow. But they got blast off and can't take much away damage. That's key, because they were able to essentially resist very, very large destroyers and attack on the aircraft. Yes. And both of them case, yeah, several of them classes. Yeah, it's great. Yes. No. Well, let's talk about the shooting here. Let's talk about the radar. Yeah, the radar is something that's like this and that is following. But radar is something we talk about. Bill and I talk about those like because we're saying components have not necessarily as I'm not using it on me. We're not. But after game measurements, it's counterintuitive. Yeah, it's like, very well good. Right. That's a given. And David Callahan has got it has a red memo. So, and as a result, Callahan ends up poisoning his flight in San Francisco, which is appropriate and old school motor thinking, and that San Fran is one of the biggest ships that he has under his command, but unfortunately, she has an older model radar on her foremans, as opposed to Helena, which has one of the more modern 10-centimeter SG search sets, which would have given him a much better view of the battle. And we know that Lloyd Musson, who's a gunnery officer aboard the Atlanta, the guy who goes on the flag rank, states after the war that had Callahan known what he was about, he would have hoisted his flag in a ship that had SG, but that doesn't end up making that decision. And as a result, he's going to have a much poorer situation where this is his battle unfolds. In any situation, this is battle unfolds. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. He alluded to I'm just going to say straight up here that my opinion on this has changed profoundly over the last 10 years. It's due to Trent Holmes' work on this matter, which I think is exciting. Again, based on, more warning, I think that Callahan is being influenced by that, and he realizes that, the only way he can put this happen is to get this pair of heavy cruisers to within, single-digit thousand yards of one of those Japanese absolutely agree with you that he at least could have had the urgency to let skippers of the other ships know, you may not want to tell this to your crew, but you know that we're close to slingshot range here, but yet they needed to know what the drill was. I would also argue that if that actually was in fact planned, that he could get appropriate formation to execute with. Because he does end up coming into this fight with a linear formation that's about 6 miles long. And it would have been more appropriate to be operating these ships, at least to have his destroyers in separate formations, maybe more of an arrow kind of formation rather than a linear formation, because, the ships at the rear of my line are very hard to keep guys. Yeah, they are. And I need to be putting as much firepower on the target in the first minutes of this engagement as I possibly can. So, yeah, I'm not saying it was a really planned thing, but I'm saying his instincts at least were correct. I've got to get really, really close to the Japanese. And in fact, he did. The line is that they're next to line. And we rear that the guy should let you in. She's not right there, the guy there. And she doesn't need to that well the way she's not right. When she is with the range, she's not close to it. She can't see exactly. And if you did a ship like that, where there's one of those versions, my God, fire that guy's been talking about in the sand, about 11 right, she's fired. Very HE over the superstructure. Boy, you want that flying fast. You need those ships. Maybe not lead you on it, saying that you want close to that, where they can just want to check. Right. Anyway, yeah, but it's keep the crew works where up so close to the warship is a perfect point.
Hour and 36. I just turned it on.
14-inch double turns like this. That way, 8 triple turns like there. They come to the press so long. Yeah, and by that, I mean, they're so close where they can see it. Get their barrels down the sheet. All that really is it's a huge vessel in the front secondary. Because you can't get some big guns. They're not damn good. Yeah. Although, yeah, these battleships do have pretty powerful secondary on them as well. And there's discovered. So the night is literally, if this is Callahan's play, it could have been a better than yes, there's boys sitting some parts of it is just, absolutely normal. And there's rain clouds as well. So there's periodic squalls. In fact, some of those squalls are so violent is the Japanese forces coming down. They can see, past the windows practically on these ships. Briefly, the Japanese reverse course because the squalls are so heavy that they come back around to head for iron bottom again, and that's going to end up sort of throwing off the timing of when Callahan was expecting them to arrive. The other thing that ends up happening with those various maneuvers, the Japanese force are going to be dispersed, and Abe standing on the bridge on PA doesn't really have a good idea of where his own ships are relative to his flagship because his formation has been screwed up. So yeah, no moon, no stars, occasional loud thunderstorms. The area is a very ominous, night, dark vortex, I guess I would say. Yeah, it definitely sets up an assessment. Yeah, we talked about the air battle line. So, in the blue, I think it's pushing to the square line, where the stair followed by the San Francisco Port Airport or Boston. So that's basically, that's basically that is how they start getting returns on the Japanese ships coming into the sound at probably 1:30 at a pretty fair distance. The Japanese have no clue that there's a American formation in the sound at this point. Even their extremely well-trained lookouts are not able to penetrate this market because they have nothing. They have no movement, they have no style, they have no source of information whatsoever. So yeah, they're flying into this. Talking about television, but they're over 7,000 yards distance. Television, picking up two distinct channels, ready for their own formations. Formations are showing up. Telling them amazing information. Telling them yeah, he doesn't, and at the very least, give him his close. He should have been listening to it. Oh, this is how, yeah, this is what it's looking like. Now, he's relying on lookouts, which is doing using these guys and all this pushing in particular. Yeah, I thought radioing with my man destroyer and saying, what do you see? And they're trying to see pretty much that what the Japanese lookouts are seeing, just nothing that they so back to more television. That's the radar picture consistently general situation coming up here as well. The Americans make a course correction and moving their formation due north. And we don't know if that's across the T. It doesn't seem like it was, but the end result is down the American formation. It's this battle. When you start getting up to this culmination, it's essentially aiming itself at the heart of the Japanese formation. And I just hear yeah, the thing is, when you talk about this ground, 27,000 yards, that's it, the 5 now, the 4 foot, and so it's just closer to that. Yes. Yes, that's terrifying. So it is terrifying. And, think about from the perspective of participants in this battle, I mean, we've got two groups of warships that are now moving towards each other at over 60 miles an hour once the beginning of battle speed in pitch black. So the range wheels on the rangefinders are winding down really, really fast. It's easy for us, sitting in an armchair and here's the move, sort of say, well, no, I have to go this. This situation is dynamic. It's changing very, very quickly. Because again, these two formations are at pretty proximity means they are coming towards each other. And once the situation like this sort of, spirals out of control, you can't make your hands back around the perception standpoint, if you will. And I got still want to see what's going on here. And as the formations are moving, Americans are still holding a battle. Yeah. Just because it's 27,000 yards from television does not mean that 27,000 yards of cushion. So cushion talking 4,000 yards for gas. Right. And the room range is only 1/3. Telling the rate of 7,000 yards distance apart. And the whole pushing reports of this reports in Callahan that the ship is crossing bow port and starboard range 4,000 yards maximum. Right. Another passage, and another passage, and another passage. Yeah, Callahan is still fire. Right. And it's about this time, it's at 0143, that Japanese destroyer Hidachi finally texts their Argonne vessels. Again, the radios to on here. But again, because his formation has become so dispersed, Tom really doesn't know very much is relative to his own ship, and declines to believe those reports, at least initially. It then becomes clear to him, oh my God, they're actually on four ships here, and now there's a scramble to have the turrets of these two battleships. We got the wrong ordnance loaded here. You know, we got to scramble and bring those shells back down once put ABC back up. Here's another bad decision on the part of Ovid. I'll tell you what, the quickest way to reload those guns with appropriate shells is to shoot them exactly. Unload your bombardment shells through the muzzles, and you know, then bring up the proper weapons. But yeah, there's chaos going on in terms of these formations. There's more people on the line. It's not clearly even. It's not as easy. You know, it's a perfect point. It's really fire, because it's not as easy as just putting it back up on the wall and about the wall. It's a point right there. Yeah, it doesn't respond. Yeah. Yeah, these shells weigh about 1,485 pounds apiece. So yeah, it's a big deal to something back down. It's very significant. These things like that. So they go on towards Guadalcanal, which is falling apart. There's density down the mission. It's a spear right below our generation. And individual slippers of the new ships collide. So this line has to do this. That's right. That's it. And there's a famous line here that I want to say so bad, but I do it. The Japanese search for they want to 18 weapons. Yes. Probably the, I really believe yes. Pierces the diamond focus directly on the yep. Just they had another search probably the magazine focuses directly on the USS. Avoided by the Japanese and the free counter. This gunnery officer, and who was a younger gentleman by the name of Lieutenant Major hears this, and shouts with his headphones, quote, "Camp that, open fire." It's one of the most eloquent quotes of this entire campaign. Absolutely. My ass. I mean, yeah, because it's already, yeah, we go out. So, yeah, game on, you know, at this point. And the Americans are obviously very tense up at this point. And so as soon as the first shot rings out, with all the American formation just unloads, you know, on anything that they can see. So the range that helicopters shoot, so I can see these much theoretically, they would shield them. The range is 600 yards. 600 yards. Yeah, this is just crazy. Right, that's meaning right there. Yeah, for our viewers, you know, naval battles at 600 yards. This is insane. Insanely close range. And in some cases, yeah, American ships aren't going to be able to fire into the superstructures of these Japanese battleships that the guns would probably be fired up to do it. It's nuts. So you said that, you know, we're going to talk about the war. This is valley air, and in terms of gas, yeah, it's a mess. And actually, you know, as an analyst, someone who takes a lot of pride in his maps, and you know, when I do a map of the battle, I want to know that my track chart is as accurate as I can get Disengagement demands that the historian simply drop the pen narrative realism, pick up the precious paintbrush. The accounts from both sides of this battle are so conflicting that no definitive narrative exists or ever will exist for who hit who, who shot it. In a few minutes, the tactical formation of both sides had evolved into roughly the same organization as if a child had taken 27 bomb warships and dumped them in the wind. That's what we're dealing with here. It's ink black night. You have warships whipping past each other again at line speeds of over 60 miles an hour. You know, somebody move up out of the darkness, train your barrels as rapidly as possible, fire whatever you can, and within a minute or two they disappear back into inky blackness, never to be seen again. So it's just incredibly chaotic and short engagement windows, torpedoes waiting through the water, star shells, searchlights. I mean, it is absolute chaos. You know, because I was trying to, trying to form talking points for this episode. And I heard about it. It actually physically was trying to figure out how we're going to try to tell the story in some sort of cohesive manner is virtually impossible. So it is impossible. So we're just going to get on, I guess. Yeah. So as the first American ship to find when she opens up, she like a wonderful, and then everybody Japanese she wants to shoot at the sea. She's okay, actually. Yeah, they know where she is now. And it's not a boat. Yeah. What must talk about he's visually watching the shells. He's visually watching the side of the shells splash in the water. He then calls corrections, watches the shells just walk right into this destroyer. Yeah, starts shooting alive. Yeah, but there's the pilot. Yes. Yeah, both Atlanta and Juneau are carrying 16 5-inch guns. The later models in this group will take down as well. For stability purposes, the two main turrets really didn't contribute all that much, but in these early model Atlantas have got a lot of firepower. And again, this is a weapon that bursts and put out 16 to 20 rounds per barrel per minute. And you can imagine these American gunners are 30 pens up at this point. So yeah, there's a lot of shells in a very short amount of time. The problem for Atlanta, of course, is because the formation is already disintegrated. Not only is she not receiving that Japanese fire, but she's out of position relative to Frisco theoretically is actually the target. This is yep. And as it will, you're talking, again, you're talking close range, you're talking seconds. It's not like she's driven. I'm talking 30 seconds. Yeah. Hey, might not have been done. Right. And Frisco runs pieces full broadside right into the superstructure of the system. And it keeps it obliterates. Yeah, just like a dying piece of like the body here. Completely right. Kind of like more than like order over some ceasefire ships. Ceasefire ships. Yes. It's painfully obvious that he watched those two sailors up right. Yeah. And it shows no one stop. And I think, yeah, it's, I can't even think that. Yeah. No, that's gotta be a terrible deal. And so, you can't get a prisoner. Watch this. What was your fault? I mean, good point. He ordered what? You know, and he was at 100 tons of cheese starts all the way to 200. And this got 100 tons of inches. It just turns out to be. Yeah, and again, the engagement windows are so tight. The engagement ranges are so short that, you know, the battle is essentially out of control at this point. It's really coming down to gunnery officers and individual charts that are making their own decisions about where they're shooting at and so forth. So that's as this draft is pushing, it's still in, such as this. And it's not with a bit, it's formation. She's rapidly getting progress. She blasted by shellfire from the number. She's got they're coming. And she was in battleship the battle record. And she had go into that position. Eyes is cushy that was the first fourth one they did. Great battleship. Like six. Yeah. That report to those of the TPS, it's like a thunder clap for their extension. Anybody who did like there is like there again. And that again is one of those moments where these guys probably did the battle record. That's fun. Yeah, for sure. And then what ends up happening as far as the Japanese are concerned is EA now starts collecting Godzilla-sized helmets of American firepower. Her superstructure is being set on fire relatively early in this engagement. And one of the American troops also, you know, makes the comment that EA looks like the largest man-made object I've ever seen. You know, these ships, EA carries up and taking on just outsized points of this battle because they're illuminated by their own fighters, particularly in EA's base, and also EA is illuminated with their searchlights. So, you know, that makes her unique. And, yeah, she starts down collecting, as I say, you know, everybody shooting her. She's the reverse of the Atlantic. Yeah. So, as pushing it down, she goes to a whole series of land. Not the one that's in South Carolina. The U.S. is now she almost because of that. Yes. Yeah, literally almost like down the on scale distance. That some of the content I believe commented that, you know, they probably could have shown to on EA if they didn't want it to. So, and one natural orders for certain notion that this is not what it ain't. Because there's so many plugs that we can on. They will, yeah, you gotta move in, I believe, 500 yards as the arm distance. And I could be wrong on that, but it's too close for that. And furthermore, you know, as far as the American is concerned, their torpedoes only work. They don't know that. But, you know, the fusing problems that we're having on American submarine torpedoes at this time are, this is essentially the same piece that is giving American submariners fits. But the Americans are indicating on gender and sales and their position is just yeah, that's true. Yeah. Friggin' bonfire. Yes. That's yeah. Yeah. It does give us so much so much fun, not just fun, but some stuff like the head on space. Yes. Yeah, we don't know, but the situation around the bridge D-Day this morning is very chaotic. Obviously, the staff is killed outright. D-Day's captain is wounded, is wounded. So it's clear that the superstructure of the battleship during this engagement is not at all in place to be. That yeah, D-Day is being shot at by everyone. After this is all one sentence of Atlanta, San Francisco, lighting up, yelling at issues, ceasefire issues, all of it. We're talking 5 minutes. Maybe. Yeah. Some ships obey that. Other ships